Coding Challenge Review, beginners, 17th of January. So let's see what we got today. Question number 1, get first name. So we have a function that receives how many arguments, guys? 1, thank you. Tell me, argument name. User. Yeah, I like user because if you pay attention to the description with some user detail, right? You can call it player, it doesn't matter, right? But don't put here Brexit, right? We know all these things already. Cool. So then we want to return the first name. How do we return the first name of an object? Return dot first name. Easy, right? Will it work?
Yes.
Any penalty? No. Oh, good, right? So, what you did here, guys? So, right.
Yeah.
For example, Ashley,
Yes.
naming conventions, wrong.
Yeah.
Names. If I read that, I feel this is an array. It's not an array, it's an object, right? And also, names. Even if you put it in singular, like Poppy did, I don't really like that. Because what happened if we had a new property called age or score? Name feels weird, right? Person. Bala, you use person. That's fine. That's interesting, Bala. Why you put that here? First name not found.
I don't know.
Right?
Just in case it's not.
So that's interesting. It works, of course, because that always returns a string, which is truthy, so this is never evaluated. But you are doing a bit of over-engineering. No one asks you to do that, right? So one of the principles of Agile is do the minimum thing to solve the problem, right? This is a bit overcomplicated.
So is there a penalty for that?
You don't have any penalty for that.
Right. Sure.
Cool. ASL, same thing. Person, first name. User, first name. People. Jonan. I don't think people is a good name, right? People feels plural, like multiple users, right? We got just one. Dave, name, no, call it user or person. Oh, and that's interesting, Michael, Christian. That's unexpected.
No, I was playing about, not playing about, but I was just playing with the names. And
Yeah, I mean, it's good.
Right, because I thought it was right.
Yeah,
I couldn't be bothered to think of anything else.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I mean, that proves the theory, right? It's correct, it works, right? But technically speaking, let's try to keep it generic. Cool, nice one, Michael. And then question number 2. Get the first name from nested object. So it's pretty much the same thing. Now the main difference is our object, our user object, has a nested property, which is the name, and then inside of the name sub-object we'll have the first and the last name. So how many arguments do we have? One. Tell me argument name. User. Again, why user? Well, because it's clearly telling us user details. Again, the same thing, right? Coding is about repeating the same patterns again and again. So, return what?
User.name. First.
Dot first. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Easy. By the way, you know you can evaluate your questions without pressing the button. There's a shortcut. If you ever hover the blue button, it's telling you can do it with Control Enter, which is quite good, right? Because if I do something wrong, look, I don't need to.
That saves so much problems.
But listen, it's your fault because if you read, it's there. It's not a secret. Evaluate result. Control Enter,
The
right?
thing is, if I press, it's gonna count that I'm pressing.
No.
That's
Because you're evaluating.
Yes, that's the thing.
It's soft evaluation.
No, yeah. When you hover the blue button, it's telling you that to evaluate the result, you can click here, or alternatively, you can simply press Control Enter, and that's the same thing. Control Enter is the same thing as clicking.
But it counts also.
Of course it counts. Of course it counts. You get a penalty, right? But this is simpler, right? You don't need to go there. It's interesting because the shortcut, the message we put here now is evaluate result Control Enter. Until a couple of challenges ago, the message was absolutely wrong and no one noticed. The shortcut we put here was Control R. Control R essentially refreshes the page, right? So no one noticed that, and we noticed because someone was saying, hey, I'm trying to evaluate, but I'm refreshing the page. I thought, this guy is a bit silly, right? A bit stupid. But he was absolutely right. It was my fault. The shortcut was wrong, right? or the message was wrong, right? Cool. So yeah, so user.name.first, it works. No elegance issues, all good. So then what you did? User, person, right? And Michael, you see why it didn't work, right? In that case, you should have put here Christian.name.first. Okay? Cool, nice. Question number 3. Find the sexy artist. So we have an array with some artists and we want to find the sexy one. So we have the argument name here already, which helps a bit. And then how do we get the sexy artist? You tell me, guys. Return what? Find
No,
artist dot find
parentheses,
open parentheses artist. Yeah, that's a good name. Arrow. Artist dot is sexy. Do we need to put that? Equal equals true.
No,
We-
because JavaScript returns.
Correct. I'm happy you learned that already. We can, definitely. We can do that, but that's unnecessary because now is sexy will be truthy if it's true, obviously.
Yeah.
So it will capture the artist. Will it work, yes or no?
No.
No.
We need to return the name.
Correct.
So dot name.
Dot name. Exactly. Will it work? Any penalty? No. Oh. Oh. What's that?
You put artist.
That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. Yes. Questions?
Yeah, I had a question.
Yep.
It's probably a basic question, but I first I put equals true.
Yep. Equals true.
Equals true. It does give a result, but a completely
Yeah. Yeah. So that doesn't work.
I'm just wondering why.
That doesn't work because if we do that, you are changing the value of is sexy. So now essentially you are saying that every artist is sexy. You are changing the value of is sexy. Is sexy equals true.
Okay.
Because you are changing the value, every artist is sexy, and because now every artist is sexy, find, will return the first one, right? Which is Danny and Kristen. That's why it doesn't work. Will it work with double equals, however?
Yes.
Correct. Do you prefer double or triple? Triple. Correct. It's more strict. Yes, trust Douglas Crackford, one of the fathers of JavaScript, right? So, even though that's correct, I guess some of you maybe done that. You maybe created a variable, so let artist, for example, equals, right? And then eventually you'll be returning in a new line, return artist.name, right? That's correct, right? That's the same thing. Oh, what's wrong? Artist again, right? Correct, right? It's the same thing. It works. All good. Any questions? No? So let's check what you did. So, yeah, let me refresh the page if you don't mind. And then, yeah, here you go. Find sexy artist question number 3. Ashley, same thing we did. Poppy, see you say classic function instead of an arrow function. You can see the two different coding styles. So on the right-hand side, you got classic JavaScript. On the left-hand side, you got modern JavaScript, right? Both are equally valid, but you can clearly see that here on the right-hand side, you need to type more. The more you type, the chances to fail are higher, right? Cool. And then on the left, Rafa, arrow function, Acel, arrow function, Bala, classic function. You see, so Bala, you're making it a bit more complicated again.
No.
It's okay, right? Oh, so you filter. That's interesting. So that's interesting. So Bala is first of all capturing all the sexy artists. Oof. How many sexy artists do we have? Well, we have one on each side.
There can be more, right?
In this case, we have one, but you're right. We technically speaking, we could have more than one, right? So I believe as soon as we have more than one sexy artist, that may fail, right? But you can see that how easy this is to solve using find. Find will give us the first artist that matches the condition.
Oh, okay. Maybe I read the question wrong.
Yep. Okay. And then Jonan, find. Yeah, I'm a bit afraid about indentation, break lines here, right? So I believe.
Is that what messed up my elegance?
Probably, yeah. I guess you got some penalties here, right? Because, I mean, I personally find it a bit complicated to read that, to be honest. So, Jonan, I will personally move the condition to the right-hand side, and then you can put the dot name is in one line. I mean, look at what, for example, Rafa did, right? You can compare them.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Jonan. And then Dave, you see, so they use the other approach, right? So he created the variable first, and then eventually he returns sexy artist dot name. Yep.
Just one question about Jonan's code.
Jonan's code, yeah.
If he had put from dot find down.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Remember, every time you have a dot something, dot find, dot name, it's fine to move it to a new line, but including the dot. So dot find, new line, dot name, a new line, right? So in other words, so in that particular case, if you want to return it inline, return artist dot find dot name. That should be valid, and we shouldn't get any penalty.
You have to do the name again, so tab in again. Dot name.
Say it again?
There's a tab in the dot name as well, don't you? Yes, that one.
I didn't get your question, Mo.
Oh, okay, you see line 4, do you have to tab it in to show it's part of the previous line above?
Yeah?
No, he's asking if you should
Tab
tab
it,
it.
tab it.
additional-
Tab it. No, tabbing. No. So tabbing is correct because these lines are individual. So this is a chain of actions.
Oh, okay.
So you first of all, you find the sexy artist, and then you get the name. So we shouldn't tab that at all. That's wrong.
Can you explain why? So I understand.
Yeah, actually, first of all, you get the penalty error
Right.
because these actions are independent. Every time you have a dot, is because you've completed the previous action. So in other words, the output of one action is the input of the next action. So what's the output of finding the sexy artist? An object with the sexy artist. So then the input here is the sexy artist, right? It's a chain. It's like a chain of actions. So they run sequentially, one after the other. That's why they shouldn't be indented, right? Because they are equivalent. They don't belong to each other. It's just one after the other, right?
The same thing work.
Yep.
But when it is return, if there's another return,
If there is another return.
then you need.
Yeah, correct. So if we put a return statement here, right? If we do that, which is,
Then you need a.
then we need to do that, right? That's correct. Why? Because the return belongs to find, but the name doesn't belong to find. Huh?
Well, what's inside the define this one is one condition. After that is another one condition.
Yep. Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Bala, any question?
With the same thing, in the inline one,
Yep.
the one we did.
One line?
Yeah, one line.
Yeah.
Would the same thing work for filter?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. You can do that with filter. The thing, so we recorded a workshop about filter this week, so I recommend you to have a look on YouTube. So find returns the first matching element,
Yeah.
filter return them all.
Return them all, yeah.
Correct, that's the only
So we
difference.
can just as easily replace find with filter here. in that
Yeah,
one.
but that won't work, right? If we put filter here, that will never work. Why this won't work, guys?
It's going to return an array
It
of
will-
Correct.
an array.
Correct. That will return an array.
Yeah.
So then we'll be doing array.name, which
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. So that will fail.
Which is why I did the map.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. But we can solve it, okay, because we got an array and we got the first one. We can do that, right? Which is a bit ugly, but that's technically speaking correct. Let me add some break lines here. That should work. Correct. Why this works? Because we get the filter, we got them all these sexy artists, even if we have more than one, and eventually here we got a list of sexy artists, an array. So we keep the first one, and then we display the name of the first one. That's the equivalence between find and filter, right? Any question? No? Cool. Question number 4. Truthy falsy with the strings. So we have an object, right, and we want to determine which type of welcome message do we want to display to the user depending on whether we have the first name or not. We have some code on it. So what's the problem with this code? It doesn't work, right? It looks like it works. Yeah, it doesn't work fine. Why this doesn't work, guys?
Just need to switch
Check
the
if you have the
switch
last
the first
name,
and
not
last.
the first
Correct.
name.
That's correct. That's correct. So what we need to do
Yeah.
is,
Return
if we got the first name, then return. No, if we got the last.
last name.
Correct. If we got the last name, then return Mr. last name, right?
Yes.
And if not,
Return
first name. Correct. And then it works, right? No elegance issues. Right? Ternary operator.
Yes.
Yeah? So what you did here? So yeah, it's pretty much the same thing, right? So we compare against the last name. If we have the last name, display Mr. If not, display the first name, right? It's pretty much the same thing. So Michael, do you have any question in here?
I haven't come across the ternary operator.
Ternary operator. Okay, yeah, cool. If you have any problem with the ternary, just let me know. Cool. Thank you, guys. And then finally, question number 5. Single versus double quotes. So we have a couple of arguments, and then we want to build a message, right? A random message. So again, we have some code in it, but it doesn't work fine. Why this doesn't work?
You can use either one or the other.
Correct. In JavaScript, single quotes are valid. Double quotes are valid, but if you open a string with single quotes, you should close it with single quotes. If you open it with double quotes, you should open it with double quotes. If you open with backticks, you should close it with backticks. We cannot mix things. Here, we're breaking the rule. We open the string with single quote, but then we close it with double quotes. So if we replace the double with a single quote, it should simply work without any issue, right? Can we put double quotes? And it works, right? Can we put backticks?
Yes. Well, not there.
Not there.
Yes, you could. It should work.
So will this work? Yeah? It's the same thing. So they're equivalent. But obviously to me that feels super weird, right? That feels that we think we know how to use backticks, but in reality we don't know. Because if we want to use backticks, it will be probably better to do that, right?
Yeah.
Person, and then get rid of all these things, and then put the location inside of the expression, which is a bit nicer under my point of view, because otherwise sometimes it's a bit challenging to look after all the pluses, all the quotes everywhere. So with this case, we put just a couple of backticks surrounding the expression, and then that's it. We surround the variables with $, curly braces, and then the literals, just we display them as they are without any plus or any weird character, right? Any question? No? So then let me have a look to what you did here. So well, that's pretty much the same thing. We can compare different strategies. So Ashley simply replace use single quotes, Poppy backticks, Bala single quotes, Acel single backticks, Rafa single quotes, Jonan backticks, Dave backticks, and Michael single quotes. It's all good, right? No problem at all. No one used double quotes, interestingly. Yeah, I mean you can use double quotes as well. You know I'm not a big fan of double quotes because
That's why I think
but just because single quotes look simpler. Yes, cleaner, right? That's it. Right, so I think that was it for today, guys. If probably you notice, but after every challenge, we need to spend less and less time to review it. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. The very first time, I believe we spent 1 hour and we didn't even complete the training, right? So it's a good thing we need to spend less time because that means that everyone is understanding how everything works, right? We'll still have the problem this afternoon with the intermediate, but at some point towards the end of the bootcamp, you'll see that intermediate gets reviewed in 10-15 minutes as well. Anything else, guys? Any of the guys joining from the other side of the line? Rich, Jonan? No? Cool. So thank you very much. Looking forward to catch up later on the intermediate review. Cheers, guys.